I never wanted to move back home. I had spent years trying to carve out a life for myself, far away from the small town I grew up in, and even farther away from my childhood home. But when my father passed, I didn't have much of a choice. The house was left to me, and with rent prices soaring, I convinced myself it wouldn't be so bad to stay there for a while, at least until I could figure out what to do with it. From the moment I stepped inside, something felt wrong. The air was thick and stale, carrying the scent of dust and something else I couldn't quite place. The house was silent, unnervingly so, as if it had been holding its breath, waiting for my return. I chalked it up to childhood memories resurfacing, old fears creeping in where they didn't belong. But deep down, I knew better. The first few nights were restless. I'd wake up feeling watched, like something lurked in the dark corners of my room. The old wooden floors creaked at odd hours. Doors would shift slightly, even though all the windows were closed. The air was always cold, no matter how high I turned up the heat. And then, there were the whispers. At first, I thought it was just the wind slipping through the cracks in the old walls. But soon, the whispers became voices, low and indistinct, like a conversation happening just out of earshot. I'd press my ear against the walls, trying to make sense of them. But the moment I did, they'd stop. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was my imagination. But that excuse grew harder to believe with each passing night. One evening, while I was sorting through my father's belongings, I found an old, locked wooden box in the attic. The key was nowhere to be found, but something about it made my stomach turn. The more I stared at it, the more I felt an overwhelming sense of unease, like whatever was inside wasn't meant to be opened. I shoved it into the back of the attic, out of sight, but I could still feel its presence lingering at the edge of my mind. Then came the knocking. It started at exactly 3:12 a.m. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on my bedroom door. The first time it happened, I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. I waited, barely breathing, before finally working up the courage to check. There was nothing there. The hallway was empty, the house silent again. I convinced myself I had dreamed it. But then it happened again the next night, and the night after that. Always at 3:12 a.m. Always 3 knocks. One night, I decided I wouldn't let fear control me. I stayed up, waiting, watching the door. When the knocking finally came, I forced myself to stand up, walk to the door, and fling it open. Nothing. But the hallway felt wrong. The darkness was too thick, pressing in like a living thing. My skin prickled with cold, and suddenly I wasn't sure if I was alone. I stepped back into my room, shutting the door quickly and locking it, even though I knew deep down that a lock wouldn't help. The next day, I found deep scratches on the inside of my bedroom door. I told myself I was done. I was going to leave, sell the house, get out while I still could. But that night, I woke up to something worse. I couldn't move. A crushing weight pressed down on my chest, and in the darkness, I saw something standing at the foot of my bed. It was tall, impossibly thin, its head tilted unnaturally to the side. Its eyes, if it had any, were sunken pits of shadow, and its mouth hung open, though no breath passed through its lips. It didn't move, didn't make a sound, just stood there, staring. My pulse pounded in my ears, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't scream. I couldn't even blink. Then, slowly, it took a step closer. My breath hitched. I felt tears slip down my face as I fought against the invisible force holding me down. Another step, then another. It was so close I could feel the cold radiating from its body. My vision blurred, my mind screaming, and then it was gone. I gasped, sucking in air like I had been drowning. My body was free, but I couldn't bring myself to move for what felt like hours. When I finally did, the room was empty, the door still locked. but the sheets were pulled tight across my body as if something had been holding me down. That was the final straw. I packed a bag and left the house before the sun even rose. I didn't care about selling it anymore. I didn't care about anything except getting as far away as possible. I haven't been back since. But sometimes when I wake up in the middle of the night, I swear I still hear those 3 knocks, slow, deliberate, just outside my door.